Hey gamers, it's time for my top 100 vintage board games of all time. We're on number 60, and this is one that Bernardo and Luke all hate me for, but you know, haters want to hate. Dark World. Dark World is a very cut and dry, very dumbed down kiddie version dungeon crawl, and I love it. The pieces look like toys. They have these little dials for the hits and everything. And it's and these guys are like, oh, but there's not much strategy here. It's just roll, move, roll, get a token, grow, get a little thing here. There's a little bit of strategy in it, and I'll give it not much, but as the expansions go, the strategy is a little bit more there. And I have all 3 expansions, you know, which are really hard to find now. I'm so glad I got them back before they become scarce. But I plan on playing this game. If my girls aren't interested, my son definitely will be. It is a nice way to introduce young children to a dungeon crawl, and I think they would love it. The last time I played this through was with my nephew. A few years back, we played through them all, and he was blown away because the pieces look like toys. The storyline is great, and he had an awesome time playing the game. And it's all about the experience. So it's moved down the list because I haven't played it that much lately. I think if I played this again, if I played this with my son or with my girls, and we have a blast again, this game could easily get back into my top 50. But I love Dark World. Don't let the haters hate. And if you can't get the expansions, that's okay. The base game is really fun, and it's cheap to get. Hey, speaking of dungeon crawls, obviously there's one I like a little bit more. It is Legends of Zagor. This is an electronic dungeon crawl game where it's telling which player to go next. You're putting in what room you're doing, what you're fighting, what you're going to play for. You're trying to build up all these abilities to go fight Xandor and defeat him. And if you did, you won. Now, this game has not been played in technically 2 years. 2 years ago, when we played the game, when we were playing it, the battery went dead. And so we just ended the game. We said, well, we killed him. Whose turn was it? Okay, you won. This year, I did replace the battery. A whole year had gone by, and the battery had corroded and basically exploded. So we had to get rid of all the corrosion. We had to clean it. It took forever to pry open that battery pack. Then we found out we didn't have the right size. We didn't have enough batteries, so I had to go get batteries and put it in. And finally, after cleaning the springs and everything for it, we got to work. And I mean, honestly, an hour or so had passed, and my wife goes, okay, now put this game up. I never want to see it again. She was going to play it with me, but then decided because we spent so much time trying to get that corroded battery out and clean it out and get a new battery for it, she didn't want to play it. So I didn't play it this year, but it's still a fun game. Can't wait to play it next year. Because, and sadly, this game is way too expensive. I would not pay the prices I see online for this. But the game is fun as an electronic dungeon crawl goes. Number 58 here is Back Off Buzzard. Oh, it's got this little vulture here, or buzzard, that moves around the board. It's electronic too, or, you know, it's got this mechanism. You push on it, and it moves. And sometimes when it moves down, it makes a screeching sound, and it can pick your players up. And I finally got to where it can pick our players up. Because it was kind of off the track a little bit to where it was just knocking them over. Sometimes it'll knock you over either way, but when it picks someone up, that's when everyone starts laughing and guffawing. And you're just trying to move all of your explorers around the circle back to their base to win the game. But there is a lot of craziness and zaniness as that buzzard. You're cringing because it's all random on when it attacks. And everyone's like, oh, don't hit me, don't hit me. And when it's coming down on top of someone, that person screams. So much fun. So much fun. Back Off Buzzard, my number 58. My number 57, game I've had forever. It is Smurfs Ahoy. This is basically Topple with Smurfs. Smurfs on a ship. You spin a dial, whatever color it is, you put the weighted Smurf piece on that type of the ship. We have played a game trying to get all the Smurfs onto the ship. It is virtually impossible to do that. In my entire life, we've done it once. Back in the day, my board game group really wanted to play this game to see if we could do that. That was our whole goal for playing the game. We played this several times over and over again. There's a cheap copy. I know exactly where it is in one of the antique stores downtown here. And I've always thought about picking that game up because I know I would never get rid of my copy, but I would definitely gift one to someone because I do think it's fun. It is just Topple with Smurfs, but there's something about it. This is my wife's game too. So maybe this is actually her highest game on my list. All right, so number 56. Is it a game when it's solo? Yes, I guess so. Screwball Scramble. I have level 2 as well. My nephew, if he were here right now, this is his #1 vintage game and probably top 10 game of all time. He loves Screwball Scramble. It is a test against time or just a test against yourself to see if you can do it. Level 2 is a lot harder. It takes a long time to get used to, but we love trying to figure out the puzzle, and we will spend hours playing it. Everyone will. I bring it out probably once a year, but that's the only games that get played that night because we're just taking turns playing Screwball Scramble, racing against people's times after we get it down really good, and it's super fun. Do you need level 2? Yes, you do, because you can combine them both for one mega game, which is unbelievable, let me tell you. All right, so my number 55 is Subsearch. I always describe it as Battleship on steroids. You got this big, board game that's 3 levels high. You're sneaking in your submarines in any one of those levels or all 3 on one level. And then you're taking turns on the top of the player board, which is really high. You're moving your ships out there and randomly putting out bombs at different levels, at different sections to see if you can kill someone else's sub. If the first person to kill the other player's sub wins, and this game's a lot of fun. When I bought this game, I said bye-bye to my copy of Battleship. I said I will never play Battleship again because Subsearch is so much fun. And I can't wait for my girls to get a little bit older to play this one. Right now, my wife will play it with me from time to time, but I do enjoy me some Subsearch. I have a strategy that I have not lost with yet, and if someone figures it out, I'm a dead man. But it's a strategy that my dad did for Battleship once that drove us nuts. And then we figured it out. He stopped doing it because once they figure out the plan, the little secret there, they can kill you pretty quick. But I've been doing with my plan for some time, and I have not lost in years, so I'm sticking with the plan. My number 54 here is Ice Cube. Ice Cube is a game where you have an ice cube and you're moving it around the board and slowly melting other players' ice cubes by having them go through different things. Now, the game got an excellent reprint from Frozen, and it's very thematic too. It's basically Olaf's game, Olaf's game, melting game. And the thing is, copies were available at my Ollie's store. And I was like, oh, here's the game, it's here. And I didn't pick it up because I was with the girls. I said, maybe I'll get it to them for their birthday. I went back like a few days later. They had stacks of that game. It was sold out. And even though they've gotten more games of other stuff, other old games I see there all the time, that game has never come back to my Ollie's. And I've never found, it was only like $7 too. I was like, oh, I want to buy a new version because the ice trays in my old ancient copy of Ice Cube are slowly, they're cracking, they're splintering a little bit, and spider webbing, so to speak. And once that ice tray cracks, that's it. So I want to get Olaf. I think my girls would love Olaf. I'm going to keep checking Ollie's over the holidays, and hopefully they'll have a copy of this game. But because I cursed myself. The one time I saw it at my Ollie's, and they had several of them. That's why I didn't get it. They had like 20 copies. And those 20 copies sold out like wildfire because I guess everyone knew that's a great game. It's basically a re-theme of Ice Cube the game. And but yeah, if you see that game, definitely get it. It is so much fun. And of course, your children will enjoy the Olaf theme. All right, number 53 is a classic board game. I don't have many classic board games in my collection. This one may be the highest of the classic board games. It is Memory, the game of Memory. I have mine that I grew up with from the 70s. I have the exact type copy, and this is another game I love playing. It never gets old trying to find the matches. It's so much fun. I can't wait to play this with my kids. And as a whole family game, just the base game of Memory, for me, it's solid. It's solid. And they have so many versions of it. Get the version you want, play it with your kids. It's a great game. Number 52 is How to Succeed in Business Without Even Trying. I'm probably the only person who would have this on their list here. It's my favorite Broadway musical. The one time it missed out on its greatness was when we were practicing for the show right before COVID. I was going to star in this show, star in it. I don't star in any show, but I was going to star in this show. I invited the group over to play this game. We were playing it a lot. I did have someone ask to borrow the game for his birthday because he really enjoyed the game too. This is a game about bluffing. You're rolling the die, and if you land on someone, you have to bluff. And it's if you don't hold the right cards for that level of employment, you have to move down to the proper level. And everyone is bluffing, but and sometimes you don't want to land on another player because you don't want to, because you know you will lose a bluff. And it's a lot of fun. It's thematic with the game. You can play as women, and there are certain cards just for women and just for men too. So it is a lot of fun. We always play the soundtrack when we listen to this. It doesn't get played as much as it was back in the day. Back in 2020, its heyday. It gets played probably once a year. When my buddy comes in from college, he always says, "Can we play How to Succeed?" You got it, man. Can we play it? I want to play it. But really fun game. Should you get it? I don't know. For a bluffing game, it is fun, but I don't know if you'd appreciate the theme. This is from the 60s too. If you love the Broadway musical, or if you're with a group that loves Broadway musicals and they know How to Succeed, yes, in that very unique circumstance, you should get this game. All right, finally, number 51 is the game called Dynamite. The impossible happened in this game to where usually you roll the die and lay out some bridges, but and half of the die rolls are explosion pieces. If you do that, you got to hit the plunger in the middle of the board game, and one of the four bridges at random will blow up. My nephews turned the game upside down, tried to figure out the mechanism. They couldn't figure out how it was that random, and I didn't want them to figure it out either because that's kind of cheating in the game. But I love the randomization of when your bridge blows up, you go back to the last tower you crossed, and if you can make it all the way around the board back to the tower you started on, you win the game. It's a lot of fun, but we played a game where no one rolled an explosion. The shortest game ever. All the bridges were there. I was like, I can't believe this happened. But every time we kept rolling the numbers and not the explosion. I mean, there was a 50-50 chance every time we rolled. But that didn't happen all the time. Anyway, Dynamite, fantastic game. Don't know what the price is going secondhand, but if it's for a good deal, you should go get it. All right, folks, that's it for now. That is my top 100. We're going to get into my top 50 and maybe a special guest. See you next time.